show on Paramount I have been interested in for a while now, mainly due to a clip on, TikTok that I was scrolling through, and then I discovered of our girl Zoe, who gets into a bit of a fight with a pilot and lays down the law on the base. After that, the show was on my radar. After watching it now, I gotta say, they did a great job most of the time with the action, romance, conversations about parenthood, life when you're part of different cultures, talking with kids. I just love like the juggling between guilt, trauma, sadness, anger, disgust with oneself and others, and so much more complex factors that are involved in this show. Personally, I enjoyed the first season more than the second. The storyline a bit more. I felt everything I just described was a bit more stronger in the first season, in my opinion, but I still enjoyed. But let's talk about the first season. The hook for how dark and how heavy the gravity is for the work these lionesses do is shown in the first honestly, where one of the lionesses get discovered, and Joe, our caseworker who runs the program, makes the decision to blow up the whole facility where she's at because her target's there. She knows she's there. She knows the target's there. But a situation arose where the lioness gets discovered, and they're taking her out back to do whatever with, right? They're terrorists. So, the mind wanders, but Joe, who Zoe plays, makes the executive decision to go ahead and blow them all the fuck up, including her lioness, which is some crazy fucking shit. But what is a lioness, you may say? From the show, the program started when women were made to be the ones to frisk female insurgents, and it basically evolved into turning these soldiers into spies to eliminate a certain target using the wives, daughters, girlfriends, female cousins, whatever, right? To get close to the target and eliminate them, or create a situation where support from the outside can't eliminate them, or blow everybody the fuck up. So it's insane. In the first season, we see a possible outcome to a situation lionesses can be put through. All right, we're getting blown the fuck up. So now Joe has to find a new lioness for a job she was given to find this guy who sells oil, or is like this, basically like this bank guy for terrorists who like the terrorist bank, and he loans them money and gets money in return. It's a whole thing, right? And the lioness unit is tasked with taking him down, which is neat. So Joe goes and finds a potential lioness in Cruz Manuelas, a woman who has been through some fucked up shit in her life, and eventually she said fuck that shit, got saved by a Marine, and decided to join the Marines. Few things out because she's a certified badass. I will say that, but she gets in, I'm just gonna say it, a little bit over her head with the assignment of being put in a lioness unit, right, or in the position of a lioness. And she is so goddamn badass. She gets recruited by Joe and to be a new lioness who will be tasked, the daughter of this guy who is linked with financing terrorism. And Cruz isn't specifically trained to be a fucking spy, so she tries her best, and towards the end, it fucking works. She kills the guy. She accidentally falls for the daughter, Aaliyah, fucks her apparently for hours with one of Joe's coworkers listening in to keep an eye on them, and this development complicates the mission even more. Crazy, I can't really get mad at her because she's not specifically trained. This is not her, this is not like the job she really signed up for her entire life. She's just a soldier, and she's really good at it too. But she got her lines crossed. I'm not gonna lie. But Cruz, after being pushed to needing to complete the mission by of like the crazy ass videos on an airplane of terrorists doing crazy ass shit to people because they were financed by this guy is insane, right? And she is tasked with killing this girl's dad and needs to pull out, or something needs to happen. And honestly, it was believable. Of course, like, do I think it was a major coincidence that the fiance's identity, the fiance of Aaliyah, because she's getting married and all this other shit, do I find it a coincidence that the fiance finds Cruz's identity at this point in time when she finally meets Aaliyah's dad? Yeah, that was just stupid as fuck. But she fucking switched immediately from enjoying ice cream with the dad to stabbing the dad to death, like goddamn, she beat up she I'm say, and then kill the dad, and like in like she just switched. I thought that shit was incredible. I enjoyed that a lot. Course, after she killed her target, she tries to extract and so on, and the season ends with Joe going home and Cruz feeling fucked up mentally and emotionally due to everything, but the mission succeeds. Right. The season also had its like side plots to where the other coworker Kyle, who borrowed her team for a bit, for a mission, and that became its own shit show that Joe had to deal with. Her relationship with her daughter and family being probably my favorite side story in this show, and specifically in this season. In the next season, it just kind of took like I want to say a backseat, but just it was just less impactful because it was just some crazy shit. It was just how they felt about her job, right? It wasn't anything like more in detail, more deep than the first season when it came to her daughter and everything that happened there, right? Her relationship with her daughter and family got better in the second season, so there wasn't really to do there besides some casual friction that was always there, right? Besides the annoying like scenes of sex and stuff like that to establish connection between Joe and her husband that happens in this season and the next, I thought they handled her relationship with her daughter like really well, like especially after her accident and how both of them got closer thanks to her effort to be there for her kid and for her kids, her family, and especially with everything going on. It was great. I really enjoyed this aspect. When she talks to her husband and they actually have shit to talk about, it's really goddamn nice, right? Great dialogue, especially about the kids in the first season. You can really feel the husband's emotions through this tough time in their lives with how active Joe is in her career and Czar, because he's left for the most part in the dark, but he has an idea of what's going on, and you can see that they're having his character torture himself with like worry and frustration and anger and so many emotions like dwelling inside him because he's worried about his wife, about somebody he loves, and about everything going on. So it's all the political stuff in the war room were okay. Not the most interesting stuff in the world, but it definitely gets heated and tense. That adds more drama and weight to the situation the show shows us and tells us, right? I feel like every character in season 1 played their part the best they could have with what they were given, right? Cruz herself was a great character. They made her this strong woman who trained to be among the best and put her through a real test in a situation where she was not trained for fully. And they did a great job capturing her breaking points and her priorities, her mistakes, her triumphs too. It was just great to see. Even the unit that works as the muscle of the Lioness team had great chemistry too with everybody. They were afraid. They were really on point with their directives and didn't detract from the show. It was enjoyable. The first season is like a certified 9 for me. The second season, I will just say it right now, it's like a 7 or an 8 for me. I'm getting closer to more of a 7. The beginning of it was good. The kidnapping of a senator, killing of her family, and Joe eventually going to save her and avenge her family and so on. It was dope. It was dope. Getting into the cartel game, potentially because China is using them and Joe's ordered to use the Lioness program to gather intel on the El Tigres cartel and find the link like from China and get rid of that, and so just so much shit, right? Cool stuff, right? We have a threat so close to home. They aren't afraid to fire in government thanks to their backing, and I thought this was going to add some more stakes and more issues, especially opportunities for more drama and suspense, and none of that really happened, right? not anything what I thought of, right? We just got more of a whiny lioness who didn't really do her job. The operation was repurposed into turning her dad, who was like the number 2, and Joe and her team were sent to go kill nuclear scientists at the border of Iran to send a message to others, I guess. I don't know. Like, it was just weird. Honestly, the plot I stopped giving a fuck about, and Cruz and the new Lioness, Carrillo, have some good moments, but dear God, they knew each other for like a few days, and they ended up, bro, like, I get it. It's a stressful situation, but dear God, why can't they just be friends and co-workers, fellow Lionesses, right? It's like, yeah, doing it with a Middle Eastern girl who has a fiance and with a culture that condemns this behavior. Sure, why not? Fuck it, right? I didn't know if I was going to see Cruz ever again after this season, right? The situation was for this to happen because they spent so much time together, right? Um, but with Cruz and Krillo, it was just out of nowhere, like damn near. Like they had some good dialogue, sure enough, but to start finger banging essentially and doing their thing, no, a bit much. It just felt unnecessary, right? I didn't really much care. We also see Byron, the CIA or high-ranking CIA officer, Caitlin, who outranks Joe, basically, help topple the El Tigres leadership by having Carrillo's dad run the organization by killing his older brother, and taking control and running the organization from the U.S. with more freedom and more options info wise, while giving up the Chinese assets. Honestly, that's all that really happened. Now with Joe's family and her having a good relationship, no real like parenting or drama coming from this as well. It's just it's all cool, I guess, right? Her being with her family and stuff, it's her safe space that, stays a bit tense because of the nature of her work. I will say it did get, when she got injured, like too injured, to even go back to work the next day, and she had to go to the hospital, and the husband's frustration and love for her almost carried like this storyline here, but there wasn't enough meat on the bones to carry it for me, honestly. I think maybe if they had like the daughter become more involved in the conversations about her job and getting interested in was, and maybe later, like this would go ahead and be the seed to wanting to do more for her country, especially when she was talking about her dad, and I'm pretty sure granddad as well. Joe was talking about her dad and granddad, I'm pretty sure. And this will sow the seeds on for her daughter to want to do the same things her mom does and be a lioness potentially, and join the military. It would be really fucking interesting, right? Because she doesn't want to go ahead and see her mom cry anymore, and she wants to make the world a better place, just like how her mom wants to make the world a better place, but for a slightly different reason, right? It would have been interesting to have Joe be who Kaylin is to her with her own daughter who becomes a lioness in the future. Neat concept, and that basic stuff in my head. I also do think they should have used the ideas they had introduced: spies everywhere, traitors in our own government everywhere, working for the enemy, corruption. They could have used a lot of this, right? With the Lioness team, Kyle, Byron, and key figures in the government being pushy in ways the cartel and the Chinese government can't fully handle, so they push back with threats, kidnapping of families, assassinations. I swear to God, when we saw Byron's family, I thought some shit was going to go down. It did not. It did not. We also didn't really hear or see much of other lionesses in the field overall in each season. Like, there was no real mention of any other lionesses. I think they just kind of say all other lionesses are too deep to be pulled out or whatever, right? I would have loved to see Joe being the lioness and working undercover low key with the mother or wife of the target. I think that could have been really interesting. Maybe like a prequel a season that's like a prequel series or something, right? An operation where we have multiple lionesses approaching all at the same time from different angles, from different targets, not different targets, different entry points of like different family, certain targets that all will be at like a family gathering or whatever, cover each other and extract. It could be really cool shit where the lioness program can work in more complex ways. But needless to say, I thought season 2 wasn't as good as season 1, but it was still good. It's not bad at all. Not mid. It just, could be boring at times with so much dialogue that at some point doesn't really matter. All in all, that, there was still substance there, right? It just wasn't all bullshit, but it was still all good. I'm still recommending Lioness. Pretty good fucking show. It has the potential to be more, honestly, especially since the show was inspired by the real lioness soldiers who were more so soldiers and not spies, spies who just were women, relationships with the women of the local populace and got information from them. That's pretty much it. I think a prequel series where we see Joe as one of the lionesses, like, one of the young women who needs to find like a serious target thanks to her. Could be really interesting. It could happen with like a daughter, a wife, a girlfriend, and the target could have helped kickstart her career in the program and get her to this point, right? But yeah. Go watch Lioness. It's on Paramount. It's not a bad show. Good action, good political intrigue, good drama and suspense. I'm fully recommending it. If you did watch the show already, what are your thoughts on it? Tell me all of it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Just tell me your dislikes and likes of the show. Let me hear your critiques, everything that matter. I just want to go ahead and hear it and have a discussion with all of you. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more. Stay safe and healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. See you guys next time. Peace.